Welcome to the Love Clarity Podcast, where you come to heal your relationship trauma and learn to love deeply without losing yourself. You've spent so much time of your life trying to be lovable, trying to be what someone else needed, shrinking, controlling, over-functioning, waiting. But there comes a moment when the pain of performing outgrows the fear of being alone. That moment, the one where you finally choose you, isn't always loud, but it changes everything. And if you stay with me until the end of this episode, I'll walk you through how I finally recognized that moment in my own life. I'm Sanya Bari, and today in episode 25, a milestone episode, not just for the podcast, but for the kind of clarity and self-trust this work is meant to create. This episode is about the moment you stop asking if you're enough and start remembering that you already are. Before I learned to heal my codependency, there were so many periods in my life where I demeaned myself without understanding and knowing what I was doing. There was a wake-up moment for me where I was so baffled about how I could come to these places in my life where I had so many glorious plans of who I was going to be and what I was going to do, that I remember saying to my husband, that do you know that this is what I do, and this is what I take care of, and this is what I manage for you, and this is how much I put out, and most people around me aren't doing this. I was almost giving him like my resume. I was trying to convince this man that I am valuable. I couldn't believe that I was doing it. While I was doing it, there was a part of me that was outside me watching myself do this and watching his reaction as well, which was like, the reaction of somebody who realizes that the person who's speaking to them isn't somebody who truly knows their value. Any time that I have started to speak out my degrees, my certifications, how good I am, I know in that moment, it doesn't matter what I sound like and what is the content of what I'm saying, something inside me doesn't feel like enough. There are no people in this world that are living a life that shows that they are valuable, that they have to go out and speak about how important they are. What I didn't understand about this period of my life, because it wasn't matching what I was raised to do, what I had planned to do with my life, was that on a regular basis, I would use very, very important moments of my life with some of the people that were most important to me. And I would always volunteer to sell myself out. Hey, is anybody here wanting to be the one who's going to be left out, do all the work, but not take any type of a privilege from it? Yeah, I'll be the one. I would always be the one to volunteer to take something that nobody else wanted to take on. It was as if I was saying that if I become easy enough, that if I become appeased enough, it was almost as if I was trying to convince people that, hey, I'm so easy to love, why aren't you loving me? But the way I was being with them, and no matter what I said and what I appeared to be on the outside, the way I would treat myself in front of them, I was systematically teaching them in all of these micro moments that I am the one who can be discarded at a moment's notice. And I would wonder, how is it that I love people in such detail, with such specificity, with such fervor, and they can't even give me 10% back? And I would have to be coming to these places where I was left out one time after another. And this moment that I had with my husband, there was something on his face. And the way he looked at me when I was basically giving out, so to speak, my resume of how amazing I am and how I should be valued, that really allowed me to look at myself and to tell myself, Sanya, you don't need permission to come home to yourself. And as you're listening, say to yourself, I don't need permission to come home to myself. I don't need anybody's consent to allow myself to feel how absolutely valuable I am. Because when you do feel that you're valuable, you don't need to go rattle off your resume to someone. My whole life had become about people pleasing, over functioning, emotionally contorting. I would stay in relationships longer than it was needed, longer than it was feasible for me. I would soften too much, and I would apologize for having needs. I was trying to be someone who was easy enough to love. And this was all being done in the name of love and to get love, because love and safety had somehow gotten connected for me. And so in a way, if you think about it, and if you really, really try to change the camera on this scene and just look from another perspective, what you'll notice right away is that this is manipulation. How? It's manipulation because ultimately what I want is that I want to feel safe. I want to feel loved. And I am pretending to be someone, this appeasing type of a person, which I have somehow imagined this other person needs me to be so that I can be loved. So there is a real me out there somewhere at this point after years of people pleasing. I did not know her because I was just so worried about being concerned about figuring out what others want from me. So I'd never, for a really, really long time, stop to question what I want. So in a way, I used to accidentally start thinking that the person that I really am is what other people need me to be. I didn't have another identity. I didn't know what else to go back to. To me, the way I was loving myself was going around manipulating people to think I am who they want to love. Now, self-love for me was something that was very evasive. I didn't understand it. It either looked like narcissism to me, or it looked like what I was doing, which was getting myself these fake relationships. But self-love isn't something that's loud that you can just see right away. Sometimes you find it in moments like the one I had, where I saw that look on my husband's face and I knew that I am the one who's left myself at the door, that I have abandoned myself. This episode is, in essence, about that loyalty. For somebody like me who has loved love and been aware of that since I was 9, and has studied love since then, one of the scariest things for me was betrayal. And that is what I negatively manifested over and over again in my life. So my personal life curriculum is that of self-loyalty, of finding places where I will betray myself and to bring self-loyalty there. One would think that that moment was enough for me, and there were many more after that. This is the reality. But I will tell you that that moment was substantial enough, and it's been frozen in my memory like a bookmark, that it was a point of pivot for me. that once that was bookmarked the way it was, there were filings that kept coming in the sense that when I would do similar things, there was some type of a file that opened up where all of those things started to go into that category. And at one point, I could no longer lie to myself. We have such a long life and we have so many moments, but there are some moments, even for a person like me who really doesn't remember a lot of my past, especially my childhood, because one of my personal defense mechanisms is denial. But even for people like me, there are some moments that are frozen in time, almost to the point where if I go right now, I can see them like a video playing for me, as if they're happening in the real moment. And I literally have visceral experiences as they play for me. And those are what I call bookmarks. And as these all started to get categorized in bookmarks, there was a shift. There was that moment of pivot. And it came in a moment where I decided to choose me. And that is the moment that my story started to change. I remember having a moment where my husband's senior partner's wife gave me such a deeply vehement and very enthusiastic compliment about something I was wearing. And the way she said it, it was so pure, it was so real, and she was so excited about delivering this that it really I got a little bit shaken up. I got a little bit taken aback. And I right away started to say bad things about whatever outfit that she was complimenting. And I needed for her to shift from this attention that she was giving me. Interesting for somebody that is always posing and doing all of these things to get love. Interesting for someone who is complaining about not having enough love from other people. One of the things I want to share about people like that, people like the previous me, is that we are very bad at receiving. And so I noticed that I was doing that, but I was already on it. That was the time when I had started speaking to myself and I was pivoting and I was noticing that I am becoming aware of myself watching me as I put myself down and then complain when others that I have taught to do the same actually do that. So in that moment, it was very embarrassing for me, but when I noticed this, and after I had given my spiel about, oh, how this is terrible, and I didn't even know, and I just put it together, it's not that great anyway. And I saw, I almost have this moment of, I become entranced, and I don't know when I'm doing it. And many times I wake up when I see the other person's face changing. And I saw her face from being somebody who's really excited to come and tell me this to like a face and a body language that fell like, oh, like that. And so when I saw that, right away, I took a deep breath and I pivoted and I said to her, actually, this outfit is really comfortable and I really do love it. And thank you so much for noticing it and being so loving and coming to say this to me. It really means a lot to me. And it was a little bit odd for me because I was trying to let that moment pass. When the compliment was coming, I was trying to do everything to rush it. So I'd already made such a big ruckus, such a big dramatic conversation about it, to negate it, to exit out. And now I was continuing to speak about it. And now I was shifting in this way. Now this was a much, much older woman than me. And she just had this very beautiful smile that spread on her face. And she nodded. And she completely took me in and she received me in such a gorgeous way. And let me tell you that any of you who tried this, and I really, really recommend that you do, may not have the same outcome. I have had times when I have not had that same outcome. I remember a time when I was going to go and have a conversation with this lady that I was working with. And I spoke to my husband about it just to straighten my thoughts and to ask him for some advice because he was so good at these things. And he said to me, the best advice I can give you is that make it a monologue. You're going to go say this because you want to say it, not because you are expecting something from her. Don't expect her to believe it. Don't expect her to change anything, but you get to witness yourself while you're saying it. I didn't like what he was saying. I didn't like the outcome. I heard him, but I wasn't going to do it. I was going to speak to her in a way that she did listen, that she did convert. But what he said is exactly what happened. She turned the whole thing on me. She was like, oh my God, there's something wrong with you that you have this skewed perspective. She didn't validate a thing that she said. She didn't take responsibility. She wasn't going to change anything. She was going to nullify a conversation and in fact send it to me back with a return receipt or return address of blame delivered directly to me. And in that moment, somehow I remembered what my husband had said. And I don't know, I don't believe that I was doing it consciously, but I was able to very quickly shift into this thing that I got to witness myself, say this out to her. And in that witnessing, in that gift that I gave myself, it was enough. And these are the tiny, tiny micro moments that allowed me to free myself from the jail, from the hamster wheel that I was stuck in, from the cycle that I was stuck in, continuing to recreate exactly what I did not want anymore. These are the micro moments that shifted me. They weren't even equal to the amount of times that I had betrayed, demeaned myself. And they didn't need to be. Let's say that I had demeaned myself for 35 years, that I had put myself aside and been disloyal and betrayed myself and pretended to be someone else because I didn't think I was enough for 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. It does not have to be the same number of years that we did that. I'm so grateful for that. You just need about 3 to 4 to 5, count them on your fingers. Just 3 to 4 to 5 moments where you were going to go the other way, like I was going to go the other way, where even though I'd made a decision, but the habit was so centered that when she gave me a compliment, I was going to go and I was just going to say bad things about myself, hurry up and quickly finish that conversation. God forbid that attention is on me, not realizing that what I'm doing by doing that is actually putting attention on me. And the thing about compliments is that when you refuse a compliment that somebody gives you from your heart, it's literally like a hand that somebody put forward so that you can shake it and you left it in midair. It's literally like somebody giving you a gift and you're pushing it away. When somebody gives you a compliment, it's about them. And when you don't receive that, it really feels weird and it feels incomplete, almost like the circuit, like the electrical circuit is incomplete. So just like when I had once again started my script, starting my programmed response, I caught myself. And sometimes what I would have liked to do was to never have had given that type of a response. That was my plan, to not do that. My plan was to do that acrobatic trick in front of all of the judges that are sitting to judge my acrobatic moves and arrive and land on my feet with my hands up in the air and everybody giving me a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. I would have loved that, but that's not how this goes. When something is programmed for so long in the cycle that you've been stuck in, the exit out of that cycle, as much as we want it to be at the top of the cycle where I just don't do it, which would be so, so nice. The real true exit out of the cycle is when you've already committed that crime against yourself and your hands are already bloodied once again with your blood. When your hand is already caught in the cookie jar. When you've already done the deed, done the thing that you said that you won't do, and you're a little bit coming and feeling the blush of the shame coming on. And at that moment, where you could once again leave yourself at the altar, once again betray yourself when you come at that moment when you're not approving of what you did. I mean, you come at that moment to yourself with loving. Those are moments where you're making a shift. It's a very, very private event. It's not something dramatic. And you just do this. If you do it the first time, it gives you the impetus to do it the second time. Remember that you're doing it for you and not for the reaction. You are considering yourself, walking with yourself like an entire human being walking with you. You've personified yourself in a way that you are no longer willing to hurt yourself and betray yourself because you're so aware of yourself watching you as you do it. You befriend yourself so deeply that you are in your company all the time. And sometimes it's embarrassing to do this in front of another person, like it was embarrassing for me as a younger person to do this at my husband's senior partner's wife. But you're gonna again and again show those parts of you that I will choose you instead of another person. Now, this woman was obviously somebody who had gone through some of what maybe I had gone through, and she recognized that in me, but not everybody's there. People will say what they need to say, but you're doing this for you, and you know that your intention of when you do it is about yourself. When you begin there, and I didn't begin there, in the second time when I had gone and I had spoken to this woman who worked with me and she didn't take it well, you can always still get there. But now that you have heard that there's an option where even at that time you can pick yourself up, what I'm telling you is that it would be lovely for us to do it right the first time, and the real exit point out of the cycle that you're trapped in is after you have made the mistake. And to come to loving support at that moment, if you think about some of our greatest, most deepest relationships, they happen when we show up for each other in times of despair and times of upset. When you don't believe in yourself and your friend believes in you, that's when you show up. And I can't always tell who is showing up because they want something from me, because they are just trying to appease themselves. But when you do this with yourself, you honestly know that your intention is clear. It is such a beautiful formation of a relationship when you use these moments. The first one builds the second one. The second one builds the third one. By the time you've done this 3 times, the fourth and the fifth come easy. And by the time you've 5 times, just to count on your hand, used moments where you were going to once again do that thing that you always do that you don't want to do anymore and enter your cycle. And at any point in the cycle, especially at the exit point when you've already done it, you come to yourself and create that connection once again, especially in the moment when you kind of lost your marbles again. That is what creates the relationships with all of the different parts of yourself. With the part of yourself, especially who's feeling ashamed. That's usually a very strong part. And when you do that, you integrate all of the parts that may have felt exiled and separate into one. And that is how you experience being whole. That is how you root in a way that when the winds come of the people who do what they want to do, the people who were previously able to shake you and uproot you, or the situations that were able to uproot you, they can't do that anymore because you're standing on such solid ground that doesn't require anything from anyone except from yourself, and that is unconditional. So that is how you create your relationship with yourself, and it goes really fast. Like I said, if you took 30, 40, 50 years to create this relationship of self-abuse and self-betrayal, like I did, it takes only this handful of times to get back to you. Why? Why? Because you are coming home to yourself. This is already a self-recognition. You were already there at one point. Maybe you don't remember it. I certainly didn't. So this is how you create self-love It has to be earned. It can't be fake. And this is how you become whole. This is how one moment of self-abuse at a time, and choosing no longer to be a bystander in your own abuse, and actually coming to yourself with loving, is how you heal. Because healing is the act of loving the parts inside that hurt. Yes, it would be nice if you didn't hurt them in the beginning. That comes. That does come, but not usually in the very beginning. In the very beginning, you can expect to do the same when you have already done the deed. You can still love other people and keep choosing yourself. In fact, that is the best way to love them. And if you do not choose yourself while you're loving them, understand that it's not really love. When you X yourself out, it's gonna come back. You're gonna give, and then in a passive-aggressive episode, take it all. You hurt the people that you love. I hurt the people that I love when I am loving them from a place of compensation for the transaction of, if I love you, you are going to be okay. You are going to be happy. You're not going to want to hurt yourself for me. You can't know that. You can't know what people do with what you give them. So maybe this episode about self-loyalty found you on the edge of a moment. The kind of moment where you know something has to change. Even if you're not sure how. If this conversation gave you even a breath of relief or clarity, I hope you'll send it to someone else who needs it too. And if you're ready to explore what choosing you really looks like, what self-loyalty really looks like, DM me the word you, and I'll send you a private gift that's only for listeners of this milestone episode. You are not too much. You are not too late. It's never too late. And you don't have to keep loving in a way that leaves you behind. I'm going to see you next time. So much love from my heart to yours. I can't wait to see you again soon.